Hello and welcome to another video. This time I will be showing a full gameplay walkthrough of my Quake map, textures and entities and all. If you're interested in looking more into my design process, there will be a link in the description to a GitHub wiki and a GitHub repository that showcases my references and how I made my decisions and my process in those decisions. With that being said, let's get started. The player has been sent on a mission to investigate an orb that crashed a ship and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Gameplay wise, the player enters in at the broken hull of the ship and dives underwater just like this. Now, although the water does deal damage if the player is there for too long, I have placed multiple envirosuits to block the damage. And this is the first enemy encounter, which are the rotten fish. These are the spawner enemies, which can be taken out fairly easy. Another neat trick with the water element is that they're able to float around, so they'll be able to use cover and float up to avoid the enemies. And we're going to float down. And the biosuit is expiring, but there's always a biosuit around in case it almost expires. And if there's not one around to progress through, there's always one that spawns in from the last place you got it. This is the first encounter of the melee enemy, pretty standard, and just one. During this area, the player can easily float above and use the floating boxes to block the enemy from shooting them. After that, they go up the stairs and into a door where they meet three enemies, but they won't attack you yet because they're blocked by the floating crates. After that, see a bunch of fish. Since the theme of the map is an underwater ship, most of the crates have been suspended, showing that they're floating. Actually, some of them have actually been broken due to the crash. And since the object of the game is to retrieve an orb, there has been enemy resistance from an opposing side, such as the soldiers and the ship's new residences, which are the rotting fish. As another level of immersion, there's been a lot of rot that's been happening. Like the ship has been rotting and rusting, which is why this area is blocked off and has a little bit of green to it. That means it kind of rusted off a bit since it was underwater for a while. There are more floating objects that the player can actually jump on, and some of the enemies actually do get onto the uh, that they do actually get on the flying platforms, which brings in another dimension of combat. The pacing, right, the pacing's pretty simple since there's always an envirosuit like nearby, and they always respawn. So if they're in an area for too long, they could easily backtrack to a place where they saw the biosuit last and grab it. Or when they get deep into another area, they might find one that spawned there. And this is a neat trick that I have with the Enforcer. He secures the perimeter of the barracks, which is where all the people come to rest. So I'm not going to disturb him. and I'm gonna go in. Another thing. And the structures of the wooden columns here, those show that those are the beds for the barracks, since they're usually in bunk beds to save space. Slowly dives the player into the engine room. Notice the pipe textures. And for this room, you're gonna see more zombies. An envirosuit in case needs replenishing. So in every fight, there's always going to be an envirosuit or a large amount of health to have the player be fully restored to the next zone. Well, to the next area. So this is the brig that two heavies are in. This is sort of a mini boss fight I was able to easily do. And this is the end zone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And as a reminder, if you want to look more into my process, there is a link in the description for a GitHub repository and a GitHub wiki for my references. I'll see you around. Bye.